School, that magical place where dreams are made, snacks are traded, and teacher sanity is slowly destroyed, one class at a time. For some, it's the cradle of wisdom. For others, it's hell with a water fountain line. But one thing is certain, everyone has at least one weird school story. Now, what if those stories involved silent hallways, unexplained lockdowns, and teachers who might actually be reptilian shapeshifters? Today, we're exploring 3 absolutely real stories. Because everything on the internet is real, of course. That happened in schools during those famous lockdowns. But forget that Hollywood tension. Hear your laugh. Ask yourself, why is this happening? And maybe think twice before trusting that lunch lady with the blank stare and an extra finger. He Locker Mafia. It all started on a Tuesday, and like any Tuesday, it was a useless day. The students at Shut Up Educational Institute were going about their usual routine of surviving chemistry class without sleep. But then, the unthinkable happened. An announcement over the loudspeaker. Attention all students, initiating safety protocol. Lockdown in progress. Immediately, everyone went into action movie mode. Some dove under their desks like a grenade had gone off. One kid, little Leo, pulled out a granola bar like it was a gun. Meanwhile, the math teacher, Ms. Clotilde, ignored everything and kept explaining the quadratic formula. Lockdown or not, you will pass this test, even if I have to reincarnate you to make it happen. As the class descended into chaos, 2 students, known only as Juju and Big Marco, seized the moment to execute a plan they'd been scheming about for months, break into the teachers' lounge lockers, and find out if the legend of the 2001 yogurt was real. Spoiler, it was. And it was alive, floating, speaking Latin. While the lockdown protocol turned the school into a low-budget episode of CSI School Edition, Juju and Marcon crawled through the corridors like 2 poorly disguised special ops agents. Juju wore a ninja mask made from his grandma's pantyhose. Marcon had face paint made of washable marker. No one noticed them. Not because they were stealthy, but because everyone was more concerned about the English teacher who had locked herself in the janitor's closet with 3 students and a vacuum cleaner named Raul. Over the intercom, the principal sent increasingly desperate messages. Teachers, please, this is not a drill. And if anyone finds Mr. Carlos the janitor, tell him to stop playing the flute in the gym. It's scaring the pigeons. Marco and Juju reached the forbidden zone, the teacher's lounge TM. The door was slightly open, whispering, "Come, children, here lie the truths of the educational system." They entered. A sepulchral silence reigned, broken only by the ping of a microwave saying, "Done," for reasons no one could explain. In the corner of the room it stood, the locker. Not just any locker, the locker. The one that, according to whispered 9th grade legends, held not only the infamous 2001 yogurt, but also the national exams from 2003 and possibly the soul of a history teacher who vanished in 2015. Marcon whispered, "If I die here, tell my mom I never learned the 7 times table." Juju nodded and pulled the rusty handle. The door creaked open with a cliche creak, like something from a low-budget horror film. And there it was, the yogurt. In a green glowing cup labeled Danonino, half erased by time, surrounded by an aura of mystery and a texture somewhere between alien jelly and radioactive mucus. Did it wink at me? Marco asked. At that moment, the intercom returned. "Attention, old students. The threat was just a rogue inflatable from the theater lab. Lockdown over. Please resume normal activities." Silence, then screaming. Then, someone found Mr. Carlos naked, wrapped in a curtain, whispering. The flute spoke to me. Marco and Juju? They resealed the locker with duct tape, super glue, and a verbal pact to never speak of this again. Except, months later, the cup showed up in the cafeteria fridge, on sale, with the label, Lunch Special. Story 2, The Thing from the Biology Lab. The Biology Lab, where dreams drowned in formaldehyde and the smell could be best described as wet cat mixed with stress. It was a morning like any other at Father Juan of Random Scares High School. The 10th grade class was learning about human organs using a model clearly built by someone with liver trauma. Professor Marlene, who specialized in 183 slide PowerPoints, paused her talk for her classic inspirational phrase, "Actually, real biology is inside each of us." And then she burped so loud it echoed across 3 hallways. Everything was normal until Lucas, the kid who loved conspiracy theories and collected Chav stickers, noticed something off. "Guys, where's the dissected frog that was here?" Silence. Everyone turned to the glass jar in the corner. Empty, just bubbles rising, like someone had drunk the formaldehyde. The intercom hissed, "Attention! Lockdown initiated. Reason, suspicious activity in Block B." Lucas, of course, figured it out instantly. "It's the frog! I knew it was possessed." "Possessed by what?" Clarina asked. By the spirit of the science teacher who disappeared in 2009 during a zoo field trip. As the classroom locked down, the lights flickered. Something moved between the cabinets. "Maybe it's just a rat," said the class monitor. But what appeared was no rat, no frog, not even a rodent. It was a thing. Half slime, half failed student, half who knows what. It had eyes, many eyes, and a smell like expired deodorant mixed with Wednesday's school lunch. The students ran to the back of the room. Professor Marlene, in a rare act of bravery, attacked the creature with the projector. The creature recoiled, screamed something in a dead language, maybe French, then jumped out the window, hopping like a traumatized duck. They thought it was over, but 10 minutes later the lights flickered again. And from the ceiling tiles, it returned. Only now it was holding a test with all the answers and a sticky note that said biology is eternal. Screaming resumed. Marlene fainted. Clarina threw a frog plushie at it. Lucas tried to reason with it in Latin. The creature finally grabbed a stapler, stamped a random paper and whispered, "Final grade chaos." Then it vanished in a cloud of glitter and dust. Shortly after, the lockdown ended with a note on the bulletin board. "Incident handled. Please resume classes. Do not speak of this. The creature is now part of the admin team." No one ever used that lab again. It became a meditation room. And they say, if you enter alone, you can still hear ribbit.
Story 3. The janitor who knew too much. Every school has a janitor. But Phoenix Educational had the janitor. His name was Just, like Beyonce. But instead of glowing, absorbed light. Literally. Where he walked, lights flickered. Wi-Fi died. He was a man of few words, many keys, and a walk that suggested he knew things. Spoiler, he did. One random afternoon, during a geography lesson about rock formations that look like Swiss cheese, the school went into lockdown, but strangely, no one made the announcement. Doors locked themselves. Lights went out. And at the end of the hallway, there stood holding a broom, and eyes glowing red. Maybe conjunctivitis, but probably demonic. The 8th grade class, trapped inside the room, watched through the little window like it was a movie. One kid commented as like the John Wick of janitors. Another replied as the midlife crisis demon. What they didn't know was that wasn't he just a janitor. He was also the guardian of the dimensional portal hidden behind the 2nd floor water fountain. Legend says he was hired in 1984 and never left. He never took vacation. He survives on expired crackers and teacher's lounge coffee, and his mission, keep the thing contained. But that day, the thing escaped, and the lockdown. It wasn't to protect students from the threat. It was to protect the threat from the students. After 30 minutes of suspense, returned down the hall, pushing a cleaning cart, with the thing trapped inside a mop bucket sealed with an industrial mayonnaise lid. He looked at the security camera, gave a thumbs up, and vanished. But that night, the power flickered. Every hallway smelled faintly of lemons and ozone. A humming noise echoed near the water fountain, and the PA system turned on by itself. Cleanup complete. The following Monday, the school got a new janitor named Jorge, but no one touched his locker except one kid, Pedro. He opened it. And now, he's the new janitor. Every Thursday, his eyes glow red for exactly 12 seconds. Coincidence? Sure. The end. Or is IT the beginning? If you thought these stories were absurd, well, New Haven T heard the one about the substitute teacher, who was a clone of the morning student. But that's a tale for the next lockdown. Story 4. The art room that came alive. The art room at Escala Municipal dos Pasadelos had always been weird. It wasn't just the smell of old paint and the fact that all the mannequins had googly eyes. It was the vibe. The kind of vibe that said, someone once tried to sculpt a demon here and accidentally succeeded. It was a Friday. An art class meant papier, amateur, existential dread, and the occasional glitter explosion. Professor Genera, who looked like a walking paint stain and spoke only in metaphors, had just assigned the class a new project. Expressed the horror of human nature using only recycled cardboard in 2 colors. Can I use glitter? Psst. No. Glitter is a capitalist lie, Genera replied, dramatically opening a can of crimson paint with her teeth. The students got to work. Brushes flew, paper tore, and someone accidentally glued a ruler to their forehead. Business as usual. Until Lucas found an old sculpture in the back closet. It was wrong. It looked vaguely like a horse, but with human teeth, and wings, and a tiny top hat. The plaque read, "Project by unknown student. Do not touch. Ever." So naturally he touched it. The room dimmed. The air grew thick. The intercom coughed, then whispered, "Lockdown activated. Art room 3B." The lights began to flicker. Paintbrushes moved on their own. A bust of Shakespeare wept orange paint. "I think I summoned something," Lucas whispered. "You think?" Clarine yelled. The sculpture trembled. Its top hat levitated. Then it spoke. Perfect Portuguese. "Where's my final grade?" Screaming. Chaos. Paint everywhere. Professor Genera remained calm. She took a puff of her cinnamon incense vape and said, "We have awakened the spirit of unfinished art. Only one thing can appease it." "What?" the class shouted. She pointed to the shelf. "Macaroni." They scrambled. Pasta flew. Hot glue sizzled. Pedro burned his finger, but claimed it was worth it for the aesthetic. Together, they built a shrine of macaroni. It was hideous. But it had soul. The creature, now swirling with glittery rage, paused. "It's actually pretty good," it said. Then it exploded into a cloud of Crayola-scented dust. The lockdown lifted. Intercom spoke again. "Please ignore the haunting. Return to your projects. Stop touching things labeled, 'Do not touch.'" Seriously. Lucas was awarded honorary detention for summoning a vengeful creative entity. Clarinha won Best Use of Dry Pasta in Crisis. And the sculpture now on display in the principal's office. Wearing sunglasses. Sometimes. It smiles. Story 5. The day the school bell screamed, at Estadio Asombrica do Saber. The bell was sacred. It rang with mathematical precision. 7:30 a.m. sharp. 10 a.m. for break, and 12:30 p.m. for freedom. It was reliable, metallic, and slightly annoying, like a robotic rooster with a caffeine addiction, till one day it screamed. It was a regular Tuesday. Students were dozing through math class while Professor Raimondo tried to explain polynomial functions using bread metaphors. "Imagine the equation is a loaf and x is the yeast," he said, as if that made sense. Then, at 10 a.m., instead of the usual breering, the bell let out a blood-curdling human scream. Everyone froze. Some students ducked. One kid started clapping, thinking it was performance art. The intercom crackled to life. Lockdown initiated. Possible audio anomaly. Please remain calm and ignore the bell. But no one could ignore the bell, because it screamed again, louder. This time it said something. "Let me out." People lost it. A group of 9th graders barricaded the classroom using desks in sheer panic. Professor Raimondo fainted into a pile of protractors. The smart kids tried to call tech support, but the phones played Gregorian chants instead of dial tones. Clarina turned to Lucas. "What did you do this time?" "I swear it wasn't me," he said. "I haven't even messed with any cursed artifacts this week." In the principal's office, Mr. Agnor was sweating bullets. He opened the manual titled, "What to Do When the Infrastructure Becomes Sentient," and flipped to chapter 12. Bells with Souls. The bell screamed a third time. They forgot me in the basement. Silence fell, then chaos. The janitor Jorge admitted there was a second bell, one that had been installed in 1987 and then ... forgotten. A search party was assembled. Lucas, Clarina, and Pedro ventured into the sub-basement. past old yearbooks, haunted printers, and the broken vending machine that only dispensed sadness. There it was, the old bell, covered in cobwebs. Wires frayed, rusty, crying. "I think it's sentient," Clarina whispered. The bell's metal vibrated. A face appeared in the rust. I was the original. They replaced me. It wasn't fair. Just wanted ... one more ring. Lucas nodded. "I feel you, bro." Edro, in a moment of dramatic genius, reconnected the wires. With a shoelace, the bell rang. Once, pure, echoing. Then it exploded into glitter and bolts. Upstairs, the screaming stopped. The regular bell resumed. Break time was back on. Professor Remendo awoke, shouting yeast. The lockdown was lifted. From that day on, at 10:01 a.m. sharp, the school bell rings a second, softer chime. A tribute to the one they left behind. And if you listen closely, sometimes it whispers, "Thank you," and or the chime of something darker. The basement is sealed now. But someone keeps finding glitter in the hallways. And once a week, the vending machine dispenses hope. Coincidence?